What happens when the cameras stop rolling and the spotlight fades? When the family you've been watching for years, seemingly perfect, loving, and united, starts to crumble under the weight of lies, control, and emotional manipulation. Behind the glitz and glam of sister wives, there's a darker reality, a story of power struggles, broken trust, and hearts slowly being destroyed. This isn't just reality TV drama. It's the painful truth of one family's unraveling, and it's been playing out right before our eyes. At the center of it all stands Kody Brown, a man who once seemed like the patriarch of the year. He was the man with the plan, the one who held everything together, or so it seemed. But what happens when that control slips, when the lines between love and manipulation blur, and when the facade begins to crack? Enter Robin, his third wife, who once believed that the sacrifices she made would lead to happiness, only to realize she's been drowning in a web of emotional abuse. And then there's Aurora, his daughter, trapped in the oppressive grip of her father's love. Her longing for freedom and independence becomes the spark that ignites the explosive breakdown of everything they thought they had. It's the ultimate collision between the family's carefully curated public image and the wreckage of their private lives. It's about control, love, betrayal, and the realization that sometimes the hardest part is letting go of the very people you thought you could trust the most. Stick with me as we peel back the layers of this fractured family and uncover the emotional devastation that was hidden behind closed doors. This is a story that's real, raw, and unforgettable. Welcome to TLC's Sister Wives Secret. Grab your popcorn because you won't want to miss this. Kody Brown, at first glance, comes across as the ultimate patriarch, someone who has it all together, balancing multiple wives, children, and a public persona. But as the layers peel away, we see a much darker side to his personality. Kody's grip on his family isn't just about leadership or love, it's about control, pure and simple. His method of managing his household can best be described as emotional manipulation, where power and authority are wielded not through love, but through fear and suppression. One of the clearest ways Kody enforces his control is through emotional abuse. It's subtle at first, wrapped in the guise of protectiveness or guidance, but over time, it becomes suffocating. Take Robin, his third wife. Her journey is a heartbreaking tale of sacrifices that led nowhere. From the moment she entered the family, Robin bent over backward to make things work. She compromised her own needs and desires, hoping that the family dynamic would work out. But what she didn't realize was that Kody, in his constant need to assert dominance, would never allow her the space to flourish as an individual. Robin's struggles are a slow burn, with her emotional toll building up over seasons. At first, she was the golden wife, Kody's favorite, the one who stood by him when everything seemed to fall apart. But as time passed, the cracks began to show. Kody's manipulative tendencies were impossible to ignore. He'd gaslight her, making her believe that everything she did was for the greater good of the family, even when it wasn't. There's a particularly painful moment when Robin admits that despite all her efforts to be the perfect wife, she felt like a second-class citizen in the relationship. The sacrifices she made were dismissed as if they meant nothing. But it wasn't just Robin who suffered. Kody's power struggles spilled over into his relationship with the children, especially his daughter Aurora. He used his position as a father to control her, dictating her every move, her feelings, and her choices. The emotional manipulation was present in every interaction, from how he expected her to behave in front of the cameras to how he pressured her to align with his values. It's no surprise that Aurora's eventual desire to break free from Kody's control became one of the most pivotal moments in the series. As Robin's eyes slowly opened to the reality of her marriage, the emotional toll became too much to bear. It wasn't just about Kody's demands anymore. It was about Robin realizing that she had given up everything, and yet she had nothing to show for it. And the more she understood the extent of Kody's manipulation, the more her emotional turmoil grew. She started questioning the very foundation of her relationship with him. At the heart of it all, Kody's manipulative actions were not only a means of maintaining power, they were a tool to break the spirits of those closest to him. What's worse is that he did this under the guise of love, making his family question if the problems were really their fault. Robin's story is a painful testament to the cost of being caught in a web of control, where your needs and emotions are suppressed in the name of family unity. The cracks in the Brown family's foundation go much deeper than what's visible on the surface. Behind the carefully curated smiles for the cameras lies a suffocating atmosphere of emotional abuse, where control, manipulation, and power struggles have taken their toll on each family member. No one feels this more intensely than Robin and Aurora, who after years of unspoken tension and emotional strain, begin to unravel in ways they could never have imagined. Robin, once the wife who seemed to have it all, is now a woman at her breaking point. The years of emotional suppression, endless sacrifices, and constant gaslighting have worn her down. It's heartbreaking to watch her slowly realize the depth of Kody's manipulation. At first, Robin tried to make sense of everything: the love, the compromises, the constant fight to keep the family together. But as the years pass, the weight of her emotional sacrifices begins to consume her. One of the most telling moments comes when Robin breaks down in front of the camera, finally acknowledging what many viewers have suspected for a long time. She says, "I gave everything for this family, and I feel like it was never enough." This moment is not just about a breakdown, it's a revelation. Robin has spent so much of her life trying to please Kody, trying to fulfill her role in the family, that she has lost sight of who she is and what she needs. For so long, she ignored the small signs of emotional abuse, the gaslighting, the constant demands, the way Kody would twist her words and make her feel like she was overreacting. But now, the emotional weight is too much to carry. It's almost as though Kody's control over Robin reached a boiling point. The emotional toll of living under his thumb for so long became undeniable. Robin started questioning everything: her marriage, her role in the family, and most painfully, her self-worth. She began to see that all the sacrifices she made for the family were not returned with the same level of love or care. Instead, Kody's emotional distance grew as he continued to manipulate and control her, all under the guise of protecting the family. But the dysfunction goes beyond Robin. Aurora, Robin's daughter, has her own painful journey to navigate. As a child growing up in this environment, Aurora has always been under the shadow of Kody's oppressive love and control. There's a chilling sense of ownership that Kody has over his children, especially Aurora. He expects them to align with his beliefs, to reflect the image he's crafted for them, and, perhaps most damaging, to cater to his emotional needs without regard for their own. Aurora's journey toward independence is a slow but powerful one. It's not until she reaches a breaking point that she begins to rebel against her father's suffocating influence. Unlike Robin, Aurora's pain isn't as subtle. It's loud, it's emotional, and it's hard to ignore. She longs for freedom, not just from Kody's control, but from the entire toxic family dynamic that has shaped her entire life. In one particularly intense moment, Aurora expresses her frustration with her father, telling him that she can't live under his constant scrutiny anymore. She's tired of being judged, tired of being controlled, and most of all, tired of trying to meet his impossible standards. This is a turning point for Aurora, and while it doesn't happen overnight, it signals her emotional awakening. She's no longer the child who blindly followed her father's lead. She's beginning to recognize that her identity and autonomy are worth fighting for. The deeper divide between Aurora and Kody only grows as she asserts her own independence. The clash of ideals, The constant emotional manipulation and the growing realization that her father's love isn't healthy, it's possessive, pushes Aurora further away. It's painful to watch, especially as she struggles to find her own voice in a family that's long been defined by Kody's overpowering presence. But even as Aurora begins to step out of her father's shadow, Robin, too, faces her own awakening. There's a heartbreaking moment where Robin admits that she has enabled Kody's behavior for far too long. She reflects on how she allowed his control to define their relationship, and how, in doing so, she contributed to the toxic environment that Aurora now wants to escape. Robin realizes that she's not just been emotionally abused by Kody, but that she's also allowed him to wield that power over their children, including Aurora. The tension in the Brown family reaches its peak as Robin and Aurora start to break free from Kody's grasp. The emotional divide between them and him grows wider, and the family becomes a battlefield of hurt, betrayal, and the desperate fight for autonomy. What was once a family unit held together by shared experiences is now a fractured group of individuals, each dealing with their own emotional scars, but each at a different stage of realizing they deserve better than the suffocating love Kody has given them. It's a heartbreaking journey, watching Robin and Aurora try to find themselves after years of being emotionally suppressed. But it's also a powerful story of resilience, self-discovery, and the painful path toward reclaiming one's identity. And while Kody may have once held all the power, the cracks in his control are starting to show as Robin and Aurora fight for the independence they've long been denied. The Brown family has spent years crafting an image of harmony, unity, and the quintessential polygamous lifestyle, all for the cameras. Their reality TV show, Sister Wives, portrayed a perfect family, navigating the challenges of a plural marriage with love, understanding, and support. But beneath the glossy surface, the cracks were already starting to form. The tension that bubbled privately behind closed doors was anything but what viewers saw on TV. The most jarring moment of this dissonance comes during Robin's emotional breakdown. For years, viewers watched her put on a brave face, acting as the supportive wife and mother, balancing the difficult dynamics of a polygamous marriage. But when Robin finally breaks down on camera, in front of the very crew that's been filming their every move, it's impossible to ignore the raw, painful truth. The carefully curated public image of a united, happy family begins to crumble, and the cracks in their facade are exposed in real time. This breakdown is not just a personal revelation for Robin, it's a public one for the entire family. The media's role in this exposure cannot be understated. With the cameras always rolling and the show documenting every moment of their lives, the public is given a front-row seat to the unraveling of a family that had once seemed so picture-perfect. What once appeared to be a family working through challenges is now a chaotic, broken system where manipulation, control, and emotional abuse run rampant. The contrast between the public persona and the private reality is stark. On the one hand, Kody and his family are presented as role models for an unconventional lifestyle, beloved by many viewers who admire their apparent love and resilience. On the other hand, the camera catches the emotional devastation, the tears, and the conflicts that have been simmering for years. In a world where fame often distorts reality, the Brown family is forced to face the harsh truth that the narrative they've been selling is not the reality they're living. The carefully crafted image that once made them celebrities is now nothing more than a broken mirror, reflecting the hidden trauma that can no longer be ignored. Kody Brown once stood as the undeniable patriarch of his family, holding firm control over every aspect of their lives, emotional, financial, and social. But as the years have passed, cracks in his once dominant leadership role have deepened into fissures that threaten the very foundation of his authority. His reign of control, built on manipulation and emotional dominance, is beginning to crumble, and no one is feeling the effects more than his wives and children. The first signs of Kody's downfall are subtle, but undeniable. The emotional distance between him and his wives, especially Robin, grows more pronounced. Robin, who once stood by his side, silently enduring the unspoken dynamics of their relationship, begins to pull away. The sacrifices she made, often at the expense of her own well-being, are no longer worth the cost. Her emotional breakdown, caught on camera, is a turning point. It's not just a moment of personal crisis, it's a loud wake-up call for everyone, including Kody, that his actions have had serious, irreparable consequences. Robin is done sacrificing herself for the family, and she's ready to confront the reality that her relationship with Kody may be beyond repair. But it's not just Robin who's feeling the strain. The children, particularly Aurora, have grown weary of Kody's overbearing nature. As they enter their teenage years, the tension between father and child becomes even more pronounced. Aurora, who's long been suffocated by Kody's oppressive love and control, begins to assert her independence. Her defection, choosing to leave her father's home, sends shockwaves through the family. The emotional rebellion is a signal to Kody. His control is slipping. As the family fractures, Kody's role as the patriarch is questioned not only by his wives and children, but by the public as well. His authority, once unchallenged, is now in free fall. What he once saw as a sign of strength, his ability to control every aspect of his family, is now recognized as his biggest weakness. And with the growing tension and the exposure of his toxic behavior, Kody begins to realize that his downfall could come at a much greater cost than he ever imagined. Not just the loss of his family, but the very real possibility of legal consequences for the emotional abuse that has quietly poisoned their lives for years. The moment of liberation for both Robin and Aurora feels almost like a breath of fresh air after years of suffocation. Robin, exhausted by years of emotional manipulation, finally chooses to reclaim her own sense of self-worth. She finds comfort and solace with her sister, a refuge from the emotional turmoil that Kody has created in her life. It's in these quiet moments of connection and understanding that Robin begins to realize she can exist beyond the suffocating dynamics of her marriage. She has spent so much of her life putting others first, but now, for the first time in a long while, she chooses to put herself on that list. Aurora's journey is equally profound but even more audacious. After years of feeling trapped in her father's emotionally controlling environment, she takes the courageous step of leaving his home. She steps into her own power, making a choice to live life on her own terms, free from Kody's influence. For Aurora, this is a defining moment of self-empowerment, no longer a pawn in Kody's emotional games, but a young woman determined to carve out her own identity, one separate from the chains of control. Both Robin and Aurora are not just physically leaving, they are emotionally breaking free too. Their departures mark a reclamation of power that no one, not even Kody, can take away from them. These are the moments where the healing begins, and with each step they take towards independence, they remind themselves and the world that they deserve to live lives not defined by manipulation and fear, but by their own choices, their own strength, and their own peace. ChatGPT said, as Robin and Aurora step away from the suffocating grip of Kody's control, their emotional growth becomes a testament to the strength that emerges when one finally breaks free from years of manipulation and fear. Robin, once so devoted to a family that never truly valued her sacrifices, begins to rediscover her own worth. She finds the courage to let go of the toxic relationship that has defined so much of her life. For Aurora, the decision to leave her father's home is a bold declaration of independence, a reclaiming of the power that Kody tried to strip from her. Both women, in their own ways, embark on a journey of healing, one that promises to reshape their futures and redefine their relationships with themselves. Meanwhile, Kody's empire of control begins to crumble. His once unchallenged role as the patriarch of the family is now under siege, as his wives and children step into their autonomy,